Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. I'm Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and we've got a 6-game NBA DFS slate for you today. Coach, are you ready for a Takedown Tuesday?
I am ready for Takedown Tuesday. We had Takedown Sunday, which was fun. And then yesterday, congratulations on your side. You put out some really strong lineups, FanDuel, both main slate and after hours, and a nice clipboard. So appreciate you carrying the load. My lineup didn't quite make it yesterday, but now I'm mad, so I'm coming out punching today.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I stuck with the Milwaukee chalk, and it paid off. Drew Holiday was the man.
Oh my gosh, he went
Milwaukee
crazy.
in general was just phenomenal. First quarter, 48 points. Drew had a
Yeah.
shot to get to 50 and he missed it, but man, they just could not miss. And Middleton was strong. Portis was good. Stuck with him even though he was coming off the bench. So yeah, good
Yeah.
night last night, and let's hammer it today.
Absolutely. Fired up.
So
All right. You
six
want me
games.
to hit? Yeah, I can hit day one or
Do it.
day one, game one on
Each
day one.
each
Today
game.
is day one to me.
Hey, every day is day one, and every game is game one.
That's
They're
right.
all important, one at a
Right
time.
now we're all tied at 0 right
That's
now.
right. We
So
start
we're
fresh.
literally T-1, right?
We're all T1.
All right, the
That's if you
first game.
play. You got to play to
Yeah,
be T1.
that's exactly right. Uh, the first game is 7 o'clock game, so we don't get that extra time today, but that's cool. We get the regular start time. It is the Denver Nuggets, who are 25-17 against the Orlando Magic, who are in all kinds of trade talks. I've heard Vuk's been a little off the table, but it sounds like Fournier and Gordon are really heating up and may move. So we'll see how that rolls. At 14 and 28, they do need to make some changes, that's for sure. Right now, they're both on the first night of a back-to-back, just to complicate things a little bit there. As far as pace, nothing to write home about, to say the least. Denver is all the way down, Andrew, to 29th now. So how do you pay up for all this Joker and Murray stuff here when Denver just keeps playing slower and slower? It's concerning. Orlando is 19th. And then defensively, there's some promise here with them being 19th and 20th. So defense is nothing to write home about. Surprised, really, that Denver's 8 games over 500 with just a very average defense. Monte Morris remains out. And then we have 3 Orlando players that are questionable. Bamba, Chase and Randall, and Terrence Ross. And that's the other guy, by the way. Ross, now Fournier, and Gordon all could be moved. I think they're going to make some serious changes there and reshuffle the deck. So, unfortunately, today and tomorrow, we're going to have to really, really watch and be careful with these trades and, see who's going to sit, who has to clear, who's in the rumors. This, you can make a huge positive deal out of these trade times if you're just following what's going on and anticipating a step or two ahead, because not only do you not get stuck playing a guy or rostering a guy, then you have to switch last second because he's going to be traded or sit, but you can find some tremendous value in the backups that get plugged in and log the big minutes. And then we'll probably have a lot of that on Thursday and Friday with the trades already have been completed and teams having to pass their physical and all of that. So, for some people, it's like, okay, these next 4 days are going to be a pain because of all of that going on. I love it. You throw more into the mix that changes it for just the average player. They don't have time. They don't have, the skill set really to follow all of this and determine where those minutes and usage are going to go. So I wanted to start off by saying that because Orlando is one of the teams that's right in the heart of that. And we're going to take advantage of it here at Coach Talk. So this is the time, dfscoachtalk.com. You can sign up for as little as 3 days for a $10 pass, or $10 for a 3-day pass is what I was trying to say. And we have our baseball coming up. We announced last night, April 1st through November 1st, the MLB full access package that we have here at Coach Talk. It's awesome because you get everything that we offer. We're calling it the MLB Access, All Access, because it runs throughout the MLB season, but you also get our other pros working with you in basketball, football, and golf, along with the baseball. So it's an awesome offer. We'd love for you to jump in and take advantage of it. All right, the game itself. A couple of things you can look at here is, again, the pace concerns me, but the defense isn't good. I don't feel comfortable going all the way up to the Joker unless it's a major pace-up game anymore because he's so expensive. And I know he pays off a lot, but 52, 53 DFS points isn't going to get it done anymore. You know what I'm saying, Andrew, or am I being too picky here?
Well, it's an important consideration for Jokic because he's expensive. I'm
Right.
I'm leaning towards playing him because of all the value on this slate.
Okay.
But I agree. I mean, the pace for both teams does concern me.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, he very seldom doesn't get close to 5x, but for the Joker to get like 8x, what is that, like 85?
Yeah,
I believe.
I'm not
So
expecting 8x in
90.
this one.
Yeah, it's one of
I'd
those
take
scenarios.
6 to 7 though.
Yeah, it's sort of like the pricing now with he and Harden and Luke and a few of the guys. They're starting to get them priced so high that it definitely limits their ceiling. And it sounds bizarre because they're the three highest scoring guys, but it does. So it's, in games like this, to me, where it's just not the perfect game, really script, it concerns me. But I get it. I mean, sometimes you just need those 55 or 58 and just move on down the road for sure. But I'm going to look elsewhere. I think, there's a couple of guys here that I think are decently priced. I think Will Barton has just consistently performed at a good level. Michael Porter Jr. has also stepped up his game, sort of like where those two sit a little bit here from the price standpoint. And then on the Orlando side, there's certainly some confusion there with what's going to happen. But, I'll tell you, the guy that I know he's points dependent, but man, has Fournier been shooting the ball and scoring the ball. He's slightly in consideration. I don't like his price that much, but if he is going to play and there's no trade issues there, I do think he deserves a look because he is firing at will right now. I don't know if it's to impress, to raise his trade value or what, but it's worth a glance to me. Vuk on the other side, the Vuk and Yoke battle, I think, is legit. You got two really, really talented guys, but they're two really expensive guys. So not going to go there today, but wouldn't blame anybody that did. So not my favorite game by any stretch, but I do think there are a few little value one-off nuggets here that you can use to round out your lineup. What do you think?
Yeah, when I circled back through the slate, my initial reaction had been, bit of a dud game because of the pace that you mentioned. But in comparison to the other games on this slate, it's not as bad as it normally would be for me. So I'm focused more on these bad defenses and the big minutes that Denver starters played, and Jokic's incredible performance, obviously. And again, the value on the slate, which I'm hoping will allow me to pay up for Jokic. And the secondary guy, I agree with you on as Barton. I noticed that his aggressive trend since the All-Star break has been significant. He has had 6 straight games where he's attempted at least 7 3-pointers. And
That's crazy.
you remember earlier in the season, he'd have some games where he took 6, 7 shots total.
Exactly. Total, if that.
Right.
Yeah.
Very inconsistent, not very involved. But he has really regrouped and he's on a mission and shooting it well too. So I like Barton, and I've also noticed in recent weeks that there's been a strong correlation on the higher output games, but with Barton and Jokic together. And it's no big surprise with Jokic, flirting with 10 assists a night, and Barton out there getting more shots up. They're going to connect more often now on 3-pointers or the backdoor cut. So I like both of those guys together. You could look at one of the other Denver starters. I don't like the bench on this one. I do want to mention that Millsap got 30 minutes in the last game, which is noteworthy for him. He hasn't been doing too much, but something to keep an eye on if he can get more involved offensively.
I'm with you, man.
With Orlando, I'm not going to go to Vuk because I'd rather just pay the extra 1,000 or so for Jokic.
Right.
And with all if all those guys are out that you mentioned, maybe a value play for Orlando. I'm not quite as excited about that side, but Ennis is really cheap. If something comes up with trade issues and Aaron Gordon's not going to play, and Ennis is starting in the 3K range, that's a little bit under the radar because he was out there for a while, but he's back in the lineup now, and he's shooting 47% on 3-pointers this year.
Wow.
So there's a guy that could help you get to somebody like Jokic. But for me, it's going to be probably a couple nuggets and then head on to the next one.
Sounds good.
All right, that next game is at 7:30. It's Washington in New York in the Big Apple to take on the Knicks. 224 total here on BetUS.com.pa, our presenting sponsor. And the Knicks are favored by 2.5.
How about that? Yeah, Knicks starting to be favorites in games.
So these guys are going to play again on Thursday, so get used to this matchup. And they have played once before. New York's pace won out in that one. Again, this is the contrast in pace. Washington number 1 in the NBA, New York last at 30th. And when they played before, they combined for only 200 points. Now, Beal did not play in that one. But other than that, Thibodeau's got to be feeling good. Where he was successful, limiting Washington with their pace. Westbrook had a near triple-double that day, and Coach, you've been all over him and talking about how aggressive he's been since he missed the All-Star game. So he's on my radar here again as a potential pay-up. It's only a 6-game slate. And he's one of the big stars in the lead for me. I'm going to lean towards him over Beal. Beal will likely face a lot of Bullock defense, and that's going to be a tough sledding for him.
Yeah.
So Westbrook, I like his spot here, his aggressiveness. Rui continues to be a focus for me as Bertans continues to be out.
Right.
Rui just played 40 minutes against Brooklyn. And that's the key thing for him is, does he have the minutes? And without Bertans, he's locked into more minutes and more shots. So I like Rui here as a possibility. And then Alex Len is a possible value play at center. He's still really cheap, coming off 29 minutes, 20 points and 9 rebounds. Won't be an easy situation for him with Noel and Mitchell Robinson, who's probable to play. But on DraftKings, if you want to play 2 centers, you could look there. On the New York side, we've got a lot of fun issues to sort through with the questionable tags, don't we? We've got Peyton questionable, Rose is back in, and Quickly is probable with an ankle designation. So
I have Rose listed as doubtful.
Well, he's no longer in the COVID-19 protocols, so he's cleared to go.
I'll look it up when you're finishing because that is a huge piece of information, and I had checked it. I just want to make sure it's right because, as we know, that point guard situation is so volatile there with the changes. So let me see.
It is. So I'm going to try to help us sort through the possibilities here. If you look at the last game, Quickly started and played 26 minutes, and then off the bench, Ntilikina played 18 and Burks played 30. And he played in crunch time.
Right.
And into overtime. He was really the primary ball handler in that overtime loss to Philly. So that was the rotation there. If Peyton comes back and starts, that throws everything off. Maybe Quickly goes back to the bench and they split minutes. If Rose is in the mix, then Ntilikina probably doesn't even play. Burks probably won't get to 30 minutes. So I could see this situation being where nobody gets more than 24, and although it's a great matchup against Washington, I think there might be a little bit too much uncertainty for me to go to anybody in the New York backcourt tonight. So I would look more towards R.J. Barrett or Randall. They're the guys who usually are locked into 36 minutes plus. And Randall, he was great against Washington when they met earlier, and then in that last game against Philly, I enjoyed watching him down the stretch because he was really intense, getting upset about no calls, and then he had that the three to get him to overtime, and then he had the chance to win it, went in and out. So I think he's going to be continued to be motivated. I mean, this guy he's played awesome this year, big minutes, very consistent. So Randall would be another pay up option here. I don't think you can really go wrong with R.J. Barrett or Randall in this matchup. So although it could be a lower total because of New York, I do think I'll end up spending a significant portion of my salary here.
I'm exactly with you. I know really the battle of the pace was won last time by New York, and they slowed it down and created what they wanted to do. I just think the scenario is different here. There's different personnel for both of the teams, a few guys that are getting minutes that weren't, and vice versa. So, I'm going to pay up here as well. And I'll tell you right now, I don't really care who they're playing at this point or what his price is, but there's no one in the league playing harder than Russell Westbrook right now. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I just keep rostering him and he keeps smashing it every game. And, this is a game in New York, high profile game. Everybody likes playing, in the Garden. And I just think Westbrook's a great play again. And I agree with you. I think Bullock is just nasty defensively, and he is going to be shadowing Beal. And when Beal's shadowed, it adds to Westbrook's definitely his usage. So I'm on him on that side. I think Rui Hachimura has to be in a consideration because his price remains very fair for the massive run that he's getting. And I hate to say it, but I had him on the clipboard this weekend, and he killed it. And as Alex Len is playing good basketball, he and Westbrook seem to have really gelled. He's getting a lot of pick and roll stuff, a lot of lobs to Len. So at a cheap price, I think he's in play here. So this could be a stackable game for me because I'll tell you my two of my favorite plays on the entire slate are both on the Knicks. I love R.J. Barrett. I love Julius Randle. I think this matchup fits them. I don't think they can stop Randle. I think he's going to have one of his massive games where he contributes even in the periphery. And R.J. Barrett has quietly been fantastic the last month. He has been the guy that's made a big difference for them as far as his increase in minutes. He took a little back step about a month ago in minutes for some reason. I don't know if Thibodeau was trying to wake him up or what, but he had a few games at like 20 minutes, 22 minutes. But since then, he's like, that's not going to work for me. So he's scoring more, assisting more, rebounding more. And I just, I think Washington is going to sell out on really trying to push the ball. Neto comes in as a backup to Westbrook, and he pushes the ball too. So I like the pace in this game. I'm not afraid of the number or from the last game. And this will be the key game for me right off the bat, 30 minutes in, with Westbrook, a possibility of either Hachimura or Len. And then, like I say, two of my highlighted concrete guys in Barrett and Randall. And just going to hope this game plays out the way I see it.
Excellent.
All right, I'm going to dive into the next game. And this is bizarre, Andrew. Would you believe me if I told you that the lousy Pelicans are a 6-point favorite over the Lakers?
Huh. Well, what if
6.5?
What if 2 years ago we had said, in 2 years we'll have a TNT game between these teams, and AD and LeBron are both going to be in the Lakers, and neither one's going to be playing, and Ball is going to be questionable, but probably not playing because they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
I mean, What a switcheroo from a couple years ago.
Mind-boggling. If you were in a time warp for 2 years, or whatever, and you looked at this, you'd say, "Wait a minute, Ingram, Pelicans, Ball, what's going on here?" Yeah, it's
Right.
crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, 6.5 and 221 is the number. Pace, they're 18th and 17th. Lakers remain first defensively, and the Pelicans are a pathetic 28th. So I like this game a lot, man. I really do. I mean, if you look at the whole slate, like look at these games coming up. Of course, everybody, their brother and their brother is going to be, targeting this Brooklyn Portland game. And I get it. It should be the highest owned. But as far as I'm concerned, the two games after this that we talk about, Phoenix, Miami, and Philly, Golden State, I almost want to skip. They just don't fit into a DFS picture, in my opinion. So what I want to do is, build off the Washington Knicks game with this Lakers Pelicans game, and then finish up basically with Brooklyn Portland. So giving you the full way I looked at this picture today was almost making it a 4-game slate in my brain here because of what I think the possibilities are. So in this game right off the bat, I mean, I don't respect the Pelicans defense. I doubt Ball plays, and I do expect him to get traded. And again, I don't know if that's a bad thing for the Pelicans because Hart plays well. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I've been backing for the last 2 years. I think he should start in this league, to be honest with you. And so, I mean, I don't think it hurts them whatsoever. I think there's a lot of guys you can consider in this game. But I do have one small concern that it's not making this a huge stackable game for me is Vogel knows they're shorthanded. He knows that the Pelicans are poor defensively, but he also, I believe, wants to shorten the game, with his main guys out, try to make it more of a half-court possession game, let their half-court defense shine because, yes, Davis was a massive blow to lose for defensively, but he's been out a while. And of course, LeBron, can step it up and defend well at times, but they still have the core of their tough-nosed defense in there. Caldwell Pope and Matthews are lockdown kind of guys. Morris, at times, just with his physicality, is tough. And Kuzma, he's long and rangy. He's really improved. So, defensively, they're okay. So I'm thinking Vogel tries to slow this game down and not let the Pelicans get out and run because if Zion's going downhill, filling a lane, you're dead. And if you try to take a charge,
get out of that lane.
You're definitely dead. No doubt. Mack truck. So, I'm going to be cautious with who I'm looking at here, but I do like Kuzma. I think that he's certainly in place. Schroeder deserves mention also. And Morris has been steady for me. I think he's been a surprise. I like his brother a lot better, Marcus, with the Clippers, but Markieff stepped up too and played a lot of big and get some rebounds. So not out of the question and good value. On the Pelican side, of course, you can look at Ingram or Williamson or both, but I don't see how you can afford both in a game, again, that I think slows down. So I'm looking more at the value for the Pelicans. And going back to the well again, looking at Josh Hart. I mean, he just seems to come in and he's effective and he gets it done. I also, if Ball is confirmed out, I like Nickeil Alexander-Walker again as a really great super value play that can put up DFS points quickly. I know there's a little bit of concern there, but if he's named as a starter, and Ball sits, I don't think you have to really worry because he's going to get it done. So I'd like to pick and choose some guys. Right now, the tops on my radar more than likely are Kuzma, Schroeder, and then the values of Na and Hart.
Okay. I'm pretty similar in that I like this game in general. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be locked in for me on both sites. Love his price, his opportunity. I don't think there's any chance Lonzo's going to play. The Pelicans are off until Friday, which is right after the trade deadline. So I think he sits out. They figure out if they're going to trade him. I think you can feel pretty confident that Na will start. So lock him in. It's funny, when they played before this year, everything was different because LeBron was playing, AD was playing, and Gasol was playing. And
Wow.
Gasol's still doubtful, so he probably won't play again tonight. The only thing that was kind of funny is that Nickeil Alexander-Walker actually started that game, and Schroeder played on the other side. So we kind of had that matchup, and he did fine. He was 12-3-2. He only played 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But in the game, last game against Denver with Lonzo out, Nickeil Alexander-Walker played 31 minutes, got up 15 shots, scored 20, very solid. And so at his price in the 4K range, I think you have to play him. I like Ingram to go along with him on that side.
Okay.
In that Denver game, Ingram looked like you want him to look down the stretch. First
Yeah.
of all, they were running everything through him in crunch time. He was driving to the hole aggressively and really taking advantage of the fact that Lonzo wasn't out there. 36 and 8. I mean, that's a great line for Ingram, and he's still in the 7K range on both sides. So I like him. Hart makes a lot of sense too. The problem is on FanDuel, they're both small forwards. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of
That's
small forwards.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of small forwards on FanDuel that I like today. I mean, Kuzma on the other side is one of them. And
Yeah.
we've already talked about RJ Barrett. Rui's a small forward. It goes on and on and on. So that's
Yeah.
the challenge there. On the Lakers side, Schroeder and Kuzma, have to be the two guys you start with, like you said. But those guys, along with most of the other key guys for the Lakers that were in your awesome lineup on the weekend, they've all been priced up on both sites.
Yeah.
It's no more value time for the Lakers with these guys out. I mean,
No.
even KCP, who has lived in the 3K range forever, he's even moved up to the 4K range. But Schroeder
Yeah.
66 to 7K, Kuzma mid 6Ks. How about Montrezl Harrell 7,500 on FanDuel?
That's ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah,
they really did it super adjust
yep,
since LeBron went down. They didn't went after AD went down, but once
right.
LeBron did, they moved everybody way up. But I will mention too, I agree with you that a lot of these guys are going to fall into that small forward, power forward area. That's where you get the advantage when you're playing DraftKings or Yahoo. You can put multiple guys in, but stinking FanDuel, when they stack everybody in small forward, it becomes a real headache.
It does. It does. And then Taylor Horton Tucker, 6,000. I mean, he's a shooting
Nothing wrong
guard.
with him.
Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with him, but pretty expensive. And the only guy that's getting good minutes now for the Lakers that's cheap is Caruso. He's 3,600 still on FanDuel as a point guard. So
Yeah.
there's a potential value play you could look at. And since we're talking about backup point guards, I will mention Kyra Lewis Jr., the backup for the Pelicans. He's minimum price on both sites. He got the 17 minutes that Walker was sitting. He could easily hit value because he didn't do a lot against Denver, but he's a lead guard. He's got some size. He'll score it. He'll distribute. So don't be surprised if he hits value as well.
Nice GPP sneaky play.
That's right. All right, let's go to the second half of the slate. Phoenix and Miami, 8 o'clock tip, and the Heat are at home here, and it's a
Yeah.
215.5 total,
Yeah,
lowest
that
on the
sucks.
board. Phoenix favored by a point and a half. We have the really slow pace here, 27 and 25. We've got the great defense, sixth and fourth. The only thing that's good here is Phoenix and their seventh ranked offense. So this is, like you said, a game on paper that we want to avoid. In terms of the news, we have Abdel Nader probable for Phoenix. On the Miami side, we have Dragic and Bradley questionable. Now, I don't see myself getting involved here very much, Coach. I do want to mention that with the Phoenix guys, in their last game, I think it was the first time all season on FanDuel that Chris Paul, Booker, and Ayton all had over 40 fantasy points. So,
It has to have been the first
yeah,
time. We'll look it up, but I agree with you. It was surprising.
yeah, it finally happened. And one of the reasons I mentioned it is because I was surprised about Ayton's price here on DraftKings. He's 5,900, and I know he's going against Bam, but that kind of got me to stop and look at it a little bit, on a game where I was thinking I might just pass it. So that's a price that I wanted to mention. And then we've got Jay Crowder in a little bit of a revenge game here. And on FanDuel, he's only 3,900 as a power forward. I like that possibility. Phoenix is another team that went heavy minutes for their starters recently. Some of these teams settling in after the All-Star break here with guys in that 33 to 36 minute range, guys off the bench not getting as many minutes. Denver was like that. We mentioned them earlier in the slate. Phoenix the same way. And I mentioned that because I'm not going to touch the Phoenix bench. Not only are they getting fewer minutes here, but we've got Cam Johnson back in the mix to go along with Sarge. Oh, by the way, they have Torrey Craig now. Talk about some defensive depth for this Phoenix team. I mean, that is beautiful for what they're trying to accomplish.
It'll be a tough out in the playoffs,
Absolutely.
with that stone cold D.
Yep. And Chris Paul and Booker are decent prices in the 7K range, so you could look at them in a GPP, but maybe just a value play like Crowder on the Phoenix side. On the Miami side, Butler has been awesome, and he's back down to a somewhat reasonable price on FanDuel at 95. He was up 10-5 and above.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I played him anyway. I said, screw it. In his last time, I said, you want to price him out for everybody? I'm playing him.
Right. There could be a bench guy for Miami that I might go to here. Hero is a nice price, and he got back to his normal self with Dragic and Bradley out in the last game. Right. And then Ariza, let's not forget that he's involved now.
That?
His first game, he only played 6 minutes, but then last game he got 19. He's cheap over on DraftKings, not on FanDuel. And Iguodala, he's getting good minutes still, but there's a couple other guys I like more as value plays on FanDuel. So probably a value play like Crowder or Hero or a pass.
Yep. Yeah, good job. For me, this will be quick. I sort of hinted about it earlier, but I just way too many variables here that don't play into my game script. The Vegas total's low. Phoenix, is loaded. They don't have anybody out. They had added guys. They're on a road trip. It's the first night of a back-to-back. All kinds of stuff there that just screams, Monty will use a lot of bench and just don't like it at all. On the Miami side, it would be nice to know with Dragic and Bradley, if they're both in or even one of them's in. I don't know about you, but when you look at Miami, I don't know how they're going to play everybody. They're like 12 deep of rotation guys. Somebody's going to get shafted here pretty soon and not get any minutes. But, you talk about loading up the wagons on defense as well with having Ariza, and when Bradley's healthy, they're going to be stone cold killers on defense as well.
Yep.
But offensively, Bam is great, Butler's great, but not in a matchup like this. You got two, like you said, of the 6 slowest teams in the league, and then you have 2 of the 5 slowest paced teams in the league. So you got slow pace, great defense. I just don't see why you'd want to pay up for any of these guys. It's way too risky. And, I don't even like the value plays because of the depth of these two teams. Now, the only thing I will say is the point you made was good. If Bradley and Dragic are out, you can think about Tyler Hero. He's usually the guy, especially when Dragic is out of the rotation, that picks up the slack. Kendrick Nunn's been sort of comatose the last couple of weeks. He hasn't done much of anything. So, Hero would get a slight consideration if those guys are both out. But this will be an easy pass game for me. I think it's a fantastic basketball game to watch with 2 great coaches, some good veterans, some great defenders. I mean, a really enjoyable game to watch as a basketball fan, but certainly not as a DFS player.
Yes, sir.
All right. How about Philly and Golden State?
How about
at 10 o'clock? So we got 2 10 o'clock games, which is perfect for our little after hours get together we have, putting that lineup in. So we're fired up. We do that, by the way, with our members every night. It's been so successful. We've put our main slate in. And remember, with Coach Talk, you get a full lineup in FanDuel and Yahoo, and then you get the wonderfully copied but never exactly replicated coach's clipboard with the highlighted core that comes out. And then when we get to the after hours slate, generally we'll throw in a couple of hybrid FanDuel after hours full lineups and possibly a core four for DraftKings if you're going to play the late slate. So jump aboard. Right now is the time. Baseball package starts in a week. It's a terrific offer. 7 full months of Coach Talk, and you can pay it in 2 payments. Just go to dfscoachtalk.com, and you can sign up right there. It launched last night, and our man Brett Trimble added that to our website, so you can jump on there and take advantage of it. And if you're not sure and you want to try a few days before baseball kicks off here or tips off, or what would first pitch? I don't know what you call baseball.
Play ball.
Play ball. So before that starts, you could do the three day for $10, not 10 days for $3, like I said earlier. But all right, Philadelphia and Golden State. Philly's 30-13, which is impressive with all the injuries and different COVID things they've had. Warriors are 22-21, so they're fighting and scratching and clawing. We all know that Curry is out, which makes a big Ollie shuffle here.
Both Currys, unfortunately. What a bummer.
Yeah, both Currys. That's right, both Currys. That's nuts. This would have been a fun time to be able to. One of these days I'm going to have both Currys, both Morrises, both Martins. Just make it all brothers lineup at some point. But
or last night, 3 holidays in the same game.
Yes, you could do that. Full house. You could have had a full house of players. A couple things. With Embiid still being out, what do you do at center? Howard's been making value. Bradley's getting a nice run there. They will go small and play Scott there. So I'm just a little too concerned about that at this moment. I think Tobias Harris, since Embiid's been out, has been terrific, but he's super expensive. Ben Simmons, the same thing. I mean, we had that bizarre scratch of him the other day, but it looks like he's ready to roll. I don't think with all the other value that I'm going to dig in for a Cork Maz or Danny. Danny Green's been great. Don't get me wrong. He's been killing it. And, you can consider him, but I'd prefer to go to either Simmons or Harris here and not even horse around. And if I'm going to have some Philly exposure, I'd like it to be to one of the main guys. Harris does get some Draymond Green harassment, which is not great. So, I lean a little to Ben Simmons, but I'll tell you, Andrew, every time I'm about to push the button on Simmons, I know he's great and he puts up great numbers and stuff. But when I realize that the dude cannot shoot outside of 8 feet or less and is shaky at the foul line, I start thinking to myself, I need a max like 6 dunks game from Simmons, which he can get, but I'm always a little hesitant at his price. But man, this matchup seems to make perfect sense. I mean, it really does. And, Philly's only a 4.5 point favorite, but the number is only 217. So definite pause there. And then you have the dueling things. Great pace, both in the top 6. Great defense, both in the top 6. So, another one of those, fighting battles. What is going to win out, the pace or the defense? But, on the Golden State side, I will say Jordan Poole, I think, is a stud, man. I love Jordan Poole. I know his price has gone up, but when he gets the opportunity, he falls into that club that I always talk about with Julius Randle and the guys that just beat their own team up to get the ball or get to the basket or get a tip or deflection. I love those guys that look like they're playing for your DFS team. And Poole falls into that category for me. I think he'll get big minutes again. They're going to need him. I know he's going to get some Simmons lockdown, but I think Simmons may play on Wiggins because Wiggins has been scoring like a maniac. And if Poole gets to go against Korkmaz and company, until they bring Thibault in, unless they start him, Thibault may start and play Wiggins. I don't know. But either way, I don't want Wiggins because of those defensive matchups. And I do want Poole because I think he gets the soft end of that. After that, Draymond is okay. Too risky, though. You don't know if he's going to score 16 or 0 from the real point standpoint. Dangerous, dangerous. I get it. But, this is a contrast of wills here. This is going to be an interesting game. But, I can see myself paying up for Simmons Harris, definitely getting the value in Poole, and then just see how the rest of it plays out once we get, confirmed lineups. So interesting game, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar here. For me on Philly, it's Simmons or Tobias. Get one of the studs or pass. I don't see any prices on the peripheral guys that I really like at this point. And with Simmons, we want 6 dunks from him to play him. I think we also want 6 layups. We need 12 easy baskets. And you add that with his rebounds, assists, and steals, and then maybe he can hit value. But no, we cannot trust his shooting at all, which really does make it tough.
Yeah.
On the Golden State side, I also love what Poole's been doing. Don't love his price increase, especially on FanDuel. So for me, he's a little bit more in play on DraftKings, where you can finagle things a little bit. And not really looking at any of the other key guys for Golden State because of that strong defense that you described. For me, it would be maybe a one-off with these other value guys because we have to know if Pascal, Wiseman, Looney, are they all back in? It looks like they will be. So then the value for Toscano Anderson disappears. Looney is still cheap. What happens with him? How many minutes does he get? There's a good chance I'll probably avoid these bigs for Golden State, even though they're cheap, and maybe go with a guy like Damian Lee if he's the last guy in a GPP. He could be a good scorer off the bench here, but yeah, not going to do a ton with this game because of those strong defenses, and I may just have to save a little salary for the other 10 o'clock game tonight, Coach.
Oh, that game stinks. And I can't wait for you to announce to everybody that you're fully fading James Harden.
Yeah, right. Well, James Harden, we're going to have to talk about him here because this is the late night hammer, 232, the only 230 game on the slate, and Portland favored by 3.5 right now at home. Brooklyn on the front end of a back-to-back. They have to go to Utah tomorrow.
Ooh.
And this is on paper, what you want here. We've got 5 of the 6 variables that you want. We've got the strong pace from Brooklyn, bad defenses for both teams, very good offenses for both. Brooklyn number 1, Portland number 6. The only thing we don't like is Portland's pace at 20th. And the way I see that popping up is usually down the stretch. Lillard has been carrying the team all night, and he's tired, and he walks it up. And then he works his shot, and sometimes it comes at the end of the shot clock. So the fourth quarter, the game dies a little bit with Portland. But with Brooklyn involved, it should be up and down, lots of scoring. The question is who's going to play? Because with Brooklyn, we know that Kyrie has been ruled out for this road trip. Shamet has been ruled out. And Harden right now has a questionable tag. With this neck issue, whatever that is.
He's going to play. I'd be shocked. I know he's questionable, not probable, but I'd still be shocked if he doesn't play.
Well, if he does play, I do like him because it'll be Harden running the show by himself against Portland's terrible defense.
Yep.
So, what are you able to pay up for Harden, Westbrook, and Jokic? That would probably be pretty tough, but those are the 3 guys I'm looking at for the pay up situation. If Harden does not play for some reason, then it gets really interesting. Who's actually going to start in the 2 guard spots? Tyler Johnson is a possibility. Bruce Brown. How about TLC? He had a DNP CD last game.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me if Harden is out, if he starts and smashes, because he's minimum price on both sites. Yeah. So you need to think about getting him in your lineup, or at least being able to pivot to him if Harden is ruled out late. And then, Johnson and Brown, depending on who starts, They could also be a key value play on this slate. They're both pretty cheap. I'll probably lean towards that group of guys, the guards, as opposed to the forwards, although they're all cheap as well. Harris, Green, DeAndre Jordan. We've got Blake Griffin now playing. He played 15 minutes in the first game.
Yeah.
Only took 2 shots, so not a big factor yet. Claxton is a better play for me right now. With
He is playing well.
playing well, good minutes, really cheap still on DraftKings, only 3,900.
Yeah.
There's a nice value play. On the Portland side, Lillard could go a little bit under the radar here on this slate, but he's worth a look and a decent price, especially on FanDuel at 9,400. I also like CJ McCollum, mid 7K range. In the last game against your Mavericks, when they got smoked, he only played 24 minutes because it was a blowout. But in the game before that against Dallas, in 28 minutes, 32, 4, and 4. So
he's an assassin.
He is. His stroke looks good, and he gets Brooklyn in their bad defense. So I like CJ here. And same thing with Portland. I'm looking more at the guards. I'm not that interested in the bigs. So I probably will have 2 to 3 of these guards in my lineups.
Very nice. So what? Let me ask you this question before I throw my 2 cents in. How much is too much in this game? I mean, this will be an important. I mean, I think you have to have exposure here, but I think everybody in the industry is going to stack the living daylights out of it. But what do you think is the optimal amount of guys to roster from this game? Because that really is the important factor when you're building.
I would say a minimum of 2, and I don't think I'll go more than 3. This isn't going to be a big stack game for me, just because of the other value on this slate. I don't think I want to get 5 guys from this game. I don't think you need to. And some of the other values like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I mean, if you have him in your lineup, you can't really play 4 of these guards. So I like 2 to 3.
I'll tell you, we are exactly of like mind here. I think you're going to see 4 and 5 guys from this game on tons of rosters that are up there, for people out in the wonderful DFS world. But for me, it's probably going to be like 2 guys from this game. And, I do want 2 key guys, but I just don't think you have to force it. And I've just got that hunch you're going to see lots of forcing where McCollum and Covington, Canner, Harris, these guys are just going to get jammed in there along with Harden and Lillard if Harden plays. So I think part of my build strategy today is certainly not to fade this game, but not stack it with as strong as it will be stacked in the industry. I think I have an easy script here of what I'm going to do. I'm going to build my main slate roster with Harden. And if he does get scratched, which he is listed as questionable, but I do expect him to play, I could easily pivot then from Harden to Lillard and have a few extra bucks there to work with. So that's my initial plan, although I think we will get news on him, on Harden prior. If Harden sits, my main guy will be Joe Harris. I think he'll get the biggest influx of shots. And then, if you really want to go, contrarian or something that can give you an edge, you'll have to see the starting lineup. And like you said, if it's Johnson or TLC or whomever is going to fill that role, that is going to be a good play too, because they're still going to push the ball and they're still going to get a lot of shots up. So after that, I'm starting to want to put Claxton in a lineup. I've been tooting his horn a little bit as well. We've got a big Claxton fan in one of our members has been talking about Claxton before he even started getting in. So shout out there. But I'm not quite comfortable with all of the rotation now with Blake in the mix and Jeff Green and all of that. Not enough to where I want to put anybody in there. I will say Bruce Brown, I think defensively can give Lillard a headache. And then when he's out, give McCollum a headache. So that's why I'm not diving to McCollum. I still think his price is a little high, and he's still a little points dependent. He hasn't gotten all the aspects of his game back, but he's shooting it real well. So, either Harden or Lillard is probably going to be the way I'm going to go with the main guy that I roster. And then based on how it shuffles out, I'm going to look at Harris or the secondary guy I'd look for from Portland, depending on my build, because I haven't decided on my center position. Cantor's actually getting a thought for me here because, he's such a good rebounder. There's an increased amount of shots in every Brooklyn game, which means an increased chance of rebounds. Plus, Portland's pace is going to be pushed up. They're going to get more shots up, and Cantor's probably one of the 3 or 4 best offensive rebounders in basketball. So, may end up going with Cantor at the big spot, but it should be a great game. I think that it's pretty simple. When the fact that Durant and Irving are going to be out, if Harden plays, and there's no, I don't think I've ever seen a minutes restriction on Harden. When he plays, he just plays. And, I think he's probably the best play on the whole slate as long as he's counted in. And I think he'll be the highest scorer on the slate as well. So I'll leave you with that little nugget, not Denver nugget, Joe Stanton.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's going to be a fun slate, starting with those Nuggets and wrapping up with the Nets. 6 games. I like that amount. And we've got that tidy 2-game after-hours slate. So we'd love to have you join the fun with us tonight in Discord. Jump in here. If you have any questions, reach out to us on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. You can also follow the coach at JOESARVADI. You can follow me at Language Olympic. If you like what you've seen here today, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the alert button so you know when these post. We're going to have our golf show recorded later today, so make sure to tune in for that. And then
match play, fired up for that
match play,
too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back again tomorrow. So on behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow as we look to crush it in DFS.